Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're flying in India, the skies aren't just empty air. They're governed by a dense, highly structured legal web. Today, we're mapping out this exact legal framework, treating it like a strict flight plan to see what really keeps the Indian skies safe, organized, and running like clockwork. So let's kick things off with a pretty foundational question. Who actually holds the ultimate authority up there? Who gets to dictate exactly how, where, and when an aircraft can legally operate in India? Because as you know, aviation isn't some Wild West free-for-all, right? It's literally one of the most heavily regulated industries on Earth. Well, to answer that, we've got to look at a massive legal transition that just happened. For decades, everything was built on the Aircraft Act of 1934. And sure, it was the principal legislation, but it had some serious weak spots. It relied heavily on enabling rules, it capped penalties way too low to actually deter large-scale violations, and crucially, it lacked an independent accident investigation body, which meant it fell short of ICAO standards. But then, enter the modernized Bhartiya Vayuyan Adhiniyam of 2024. This is a total structural overhaul. It sets up clear, independent statutory bodies, brings India fully in line with the Chicago Convention, and get this, it scales maximum penalties all the way up to 1 crore rupees. All right, here's our flight plan for this explainer. First, the framework of the skies. Second, the shift to 2024. Third, we'll hit aircraft logbooks and paperwork. Fourth, entry and inspection rights. And finally, number 5, penalties for rule breakers.
Okay, jumping right into part 1, the framework of the skies.
At cruising altitude, we have Section 5. This apex statutory provision gives the central government absolute sweeping authority over every single aspect of civil aviation. We're talking total jurisdiction. From the exact moment an aircraft is manufactured, to who possesses it, how it's operated, down to the nitty-gritty of its maintenance, the government has the ultimate legal mandate to regulate the whole shebang in the interest of public safety. But here's where it gets really interesting. While the government holds the broad power, Section 5A gives the Director General of Civil Aviation, the DGCA, some serious teeth. This provision lets the DGCA issue binding, written safety or security directions straight to any person or operator. Basically, if a sudden safety threat pops up, the DGCA doesn't have to sit around waiting to pass a new law. They just issue a Section 5A direction, and compliance is absolutely non-negotiable. Moving on to Part 2, the shift to 2024. So under the new 2024 Act, the legislation structurally locks in 3 completely separate authorities. You've got the DGCA handling safety oversight, the BCAS managing civil aviation security, and the AIIB, the Aircraft Accidents Investigation Bureau. This split is absolutely critical. By making the AIIB its own distinct, independent statutory body, India finally aligns with ICAO and X13 standards. Now, the folks investigating an accident are totally independent from the folks regulating the day-to-day operations. A massive upgrade.
All right, part 3, aircraft logbooks and paperwork.
Now, the crucial thing in aviation is proving you're actually following all these rules. Under Rule 67, every single aircraft registered in India has to rigorously maintain a very specific stack of logbooks to be considered legally airworthy. And it's not just one book. You need a journey log, an aircraft log, an individual log for every single engine installed, a propeller log if it's variable pitch, and a radio apparatus log. Yes, even in our hyper-digital age, that is a monumental physical paper trail required to account for the mechanical life of a single machine. And it doesn't stop with the aircraft. It applies to the humans flying them too. Rule 67A mandates that every flight crew member keep a personal logbook, and they are super specific about this. Entries have to be in ink or an approved electronic system. You have to certify the accuracy at the end of every calendar month, and you must keep these records for at least 5 years. For the pilots out there, remember, falsifying your personal logs, like padding your flight hours, is a Category 2 offense. That's a direct route to immediate, severe legal trouble. Definitely not worth it.
Which brings us to Part 4, entry and inspection rights.
So we've covered the rules and the paperwork, but who actually gets to board your aircraft and check them? Under Rule 17, the list of people legally authorized to demand your documents on the spot is surprisingly broad. It's not just the DGCA. We're talking any magistrate, any police officer, above the rank of sub-inspector, customs officers, and even commissioned officers of the Naval, military, or Air Force. This broad list really highlights how intensely the state views aviation security. If they demand your documents on the tarmac, you must produce them. Expanding on that, Rule 156 grants massive inspection authority to the Director General and authorized personnel. They have the statutory right to enter, inspect, and search any aircraft, even private ones. They can scrutinize your personnel, your records, your facilities to ensure total compliance with the Act and rules. And just a quick warning, under Rule 159, obstructing these authorized personnel or denying them access, that's a serious Category 2 offense that can lead straight to imprisonment.
Dropping the hammer now with Part 5, Penalties for Rule Breakers.
Let's take all of this legal theory and put it into practice with a high-stakes scenario straight from the DGCA exam practice sets. Imagine there is a severe security threat, and the DGCA issues an urgent written safety direction: no civil flights below 10,000 feet near a sensitive nuclear installation. But a commercial pilot, wanting to save time and fuel, intentionally ignores this order and flies at 4,000 feet right through the restricted zone to take a shortcut. What actually happens next?
Let's break down this legal matrix step by step, because defying a single order cascades incredibly fast. Step 1, the pilot violated a binding Section 5A direction. Step 2, doing this immediately triggers a Rule 21 violation, which strictly prohibits dangerous flying that causes hazard to persons or property. And then Step 3, the action. The DGCA will immediately revoke or suspend the pilot's license, and they'll face severe penal prosecution under Section 11A of the Act. We're talking potential jail time and massive fines.
This schedule maps out the 4 distinct categories of escalation under the 1937 rules, directly matching the punishment to the danger level of the offense. So, a Category 4 paperwork slip-up, like not carrying documents, might mean 3 months in prison or a 1-lakh fine. But if you jump up to Category 1, say flying an aircraft without registration, you're suddenly looking at up to 2 years in prison and a 10-lakh rupee fine under the old rules.
But honestly, that 10-lakh ceiling was a huge weak point in the old regime. It just wasn't enough to deter massive corporations. So under the new Bharatiya Vayuyan Adhiniyam 2024, the maximum statutory fines for severe violations, like entering restricted airspace or flying dangerously, have been cranked way up to a staggering 1 crore rupees. That is 10 million rupees. The government realized that to enforce real safety, the financial hit had to actually sting a commercial airline's bottom line, rather than just being brushed off as a minor cost of doing business.
And beyond the crippling fines and the threat of jail time, the government holds one final trump card. Under Section 19 of the 2024 Act, the central government retains the absolute overarching power to restrict, suspend, or completely cancel your license, certificate, or approval. If they have reasonable doubt about your safety or airworthiness, they have the statutory right to just permanently ground you.
So, I want to leave you with a final thought as you digest all of this. When you look at that mountain of logbooks, the sweeping inspection rights, and those massive 1 crore rupee fines, the system can seem, well, kind of oppressive. But are these incredibly strict aviation laws simply designed to punish operators? Or are they, in fact, the only invisible framework keeping our crowded modern skies from descending into total chaos? It's a real game changer when you think about it. Keep that in mind next time you leave the ground. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we'll catch you in the next one.